they're banging their head against a table. After that happened, they just let him go home to his apartment with his teenage daughter. How about a hospital?
So we're talking The Exorcism, which is out in cinemas this weekend. Russell Crowe, once again, in an exorcism-type movie. I haven't seen The Pope's Exorcist. Matt and Raj are here. Have either of you guys seen The Pope's Exorcist?
I've seen it.
That would be a big no for me.
It's a no for Raj, but you've seen it, Matt. I know this isn't connected, but obviously the connection is that he's doing yet another horror film.
Yeah, I think that's kind of strange that the director chose him after he had made the previous Exorcist film, playing a relatively same kind of character. So it seems almost the wrong choice to have someone, because the other movie is a lot more kind of light and campy and kind of funny and fun, dark humor. I mean, it's supposed to be a horror drama, but it's really over the top. And this is a lot more serious. So it's kind of like, I don't know if that's a smart move to have someone in a campy, funny thing and then play the same role opposite that as a dramatic attempt. It's just kind of odd.
It's really weird. And even on the artwork, like on the poster, he's holding the cross out, much like The Pope's Exorcist, which is kind of a similar shot, isn't it? It's weird.
Overall, I think the movie might have been better just with a different actor playing the lead who doesn't have the baggage of a previous Exorcist movie.
Oh my god, so much to talk about. So this is directed by Joshua John Miller, co-written by Miller and M.A. Fortin. So Joshua John Miller is the son of the guy who played Father Karras in The Exorcist.
Interesting.
Because it's called the Georgetown Project. That's what he's working on, isn't he? Because he's a failed actor. He's a troubled actor who's had a history of alcohol and drug problems. And his name is Anthony Miller, or Anthony Miller. He's shooting a supernatural horror and his daughter gets involved. The story, I suppose, is fairly interesting to begin with. I thought it started off really well, this film.
Well, I didn't really have high expectations. And quite frankly, I think Russell Crowe's just happy to be getting some steady work these days. But the first scene, it kind of was like, okay, this is going to be a terrible movie. But as the movie unfolded and enveloped a bit, I wouldn't say it was even really that much of a horror movie. It didn't feel very horror-like. It was kind of one note throughout and a little bit predictable.
See, I was the other way. I thought it started off quite promisingly and then it just nosedived. It just became so ludicrous. And also, I don't know whether Russell Crowe is that good in horror films. I didn't see The Pope's Exorcist, so I can't judge that movie. It'll be unfair for me to say anything about that. But in this film, he was just not well cast, I don't think.
I had the same, I think I had the same view as you, Phil, where I actually was on board with it for the first half of the film. It was kind of slow and kind of more of like a psychological horror slash like family drama kind of thing, which is interesting as a setup for a horror movie. But then by the two-thirds point, it became a traditional devil possession horror movie that just kind of followed the tropes of that with lots of plot holes that it didn't really understand.
The story is kind of interesting to start with because it's that whole kind of mental turmoil thing, isn't it? Which is believable. But then once the possession stuff started coming in, it was like, eye roll. It was very cliched. There's a couple of good jump scares. There's one really good jump scare about 20 minutes, half an hour in. It's kind of slow building to begin with. I quite liked that mood at the beginning, but then it just became predictable.
I didn't really start being interested in the film until that 1 hour point in where he does all the contortion and classic Exorcist stuff. But and I was like, okay, finally something's happening here. But I just think, talk about plot holes. Like you would think after 3 lead actors get killed during the filming of this thing that it would take them that long to shut a film down.
That was going to be one of my gripes, actually. Can we stop like minor role characters bumping them off? Because it's so predictable. It's like you just know that, if someone's got a screen time of like, say, 30 seconds, they're going to die because they've not really been on the screen that much. I'm not saying who that is, but, he's quite a big actor. He's been in a lot of big movies. And I just thought that, again, was another trope. It was like, oh, God, we've been here before.
And I know that it's a fantasy film, it's not real life, but if your lead actor is, I guess I'm spoiling things, spoiler, if an actor in a film is their body's breaking down in front of a crowd of people, After that happened, and they're banging their head against the table. After that happened, they just let him go home to his apartment with his teenage daughter. How about a hospital or like a mental ward? And then another character who is I will not name jumps out of a window but somehow survives.
Yes,
I
I
don't
know.
really understand that.
I thought that also was really good, though. It's Ryan Simpkins, non-binary actor, who's, you know, like Raj mentioned, the lesbian love interest. I thought that was really interesting, and it was good because it was current and it felt right. And, you know, obviously it's all about diversity as a diverse cast. When you think about Russell Crowe's previous history as well with movies, I just didn't think he was very good in this. He's a good actor. He has been in some great films, but I just don't think horror suits him. I don't think he pulls it off.
I mean, his character is supposed to be kind of a sad sack, depressed, over the hill actor, and he kind of emanates that just from. I mean, Russell Crowe, not the character. He just seems kind of half interested in what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? I don't get a lot of like energy. I mean, maybe he's a good actor because he's playing someone who's disinterested. I just don't get. He's the main focus. He's almost in every single scene of the movie, and he just seems like he would rather be somewhere else. I don't know. I don't get a lot of like energy from him in the role.
It doesn't really help either that the whole movie is so black and so dark, and the same lighting throughout the whole, every single scene. Like, that really took me out of it. Like, it made me sort of, like, almost fall asleep. You know, seeing this in a theater at night, like, it would be really tough to keep your eyes glued to that lighting. There was no like cinematography to keep you interested.
Yeah, I thought the set design and the
That's
cinematography
nice.
was okay, you know. But to me, it
Oh,
just
that's nice.
it felt like two movies. I know there were two people involved in the direction and the writing because it's directed by Joshua John Miller, co-written by Miller and M.A. Fortin. For me, the writing fell apart halfway through. It's almost like they couldn't be bothered to finish it. And I know that it has had problems. They started filming and then they had to delay filming because of COVID. So they picked up again years later, and it actually started like back in 2019. So it's been going for 4 years. I think they finished it this year, so it's like really late. Like, you know, to get it in cinemas just a few months later, it's crazy.
I think there was some kind of involvement with the studio because I read an interview with him. I don't know who I forgot who the studio was, but I think there was a little bit of tussle between what he wanted to do and what the studio wanted to do. And I'm assuming that's the whole ending where it becomes a big predictable CG like traditional horror movie. I'm assuming he probably didn't want it to go that way, but he was overridden and they told him that he had to do that and he was just not feeling it.
Do you think that this is the film that can bring Miramax back to its old former glory days?
No.
Like,
I thought it was a real shame. Like you, Raj, I wasn't expecting much like going into it because I thought, oh God, it just felt a bit laboured and a bit, I don't know, it didn't feel like a genuine horror film to me with its heart in the right place. But obviously, you know, the director has got a background in horror. He starred in Halloween 3 as a young actor. And he's, you know, done lots of other kind of horror-related movies. He was in Near Dark as well, big 80s horror film. And obviously, you know, he's got a directing background, but I felt like it was just a bit of a chancer movie.
I also read that the title of the film was actually what the title of the movie within a movie is. That was the original title of this film, but
The
I'm assuming
Georgetown Project that he's
yeah, but I'm
obviously
assuming the
writing.
studio made him change it to The Exorcist or The Exorcism. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's because it was too close to The Exorcist. Because you know there was a line in the movie about it was the girlfriend of the daughter who says, "Oh, you know, lots of strange things happen on horror movies. You know, they're cursed." And she doesn't mention The Exorcist, but she mentions other films. And I wonder if there was a legal issue with that because it was too similar.
you know, this film didn't really push new boundaries in horror. It didn't give us anything new. So I think that's why I was a little disappointed overall in the end. It just seemed like a very flat horror movie with not anything new to offer, really. So horror is evolving. You know, it's becoming a little bit more intelligent. You know, I just thought this was a film about a film remaking The Exorcist. And nothing more.
I agree. So star rating.
I'm afraid it's a 2 for me.
If the beginning of the film hadn't been interesting, and I did enjoy the first 30, 40 minutes, It did nosedive for me, so I would have given it 3, but I'm giving it 2 now just because it just fell apart completely. And the ludicrous acting and just, like you said, Matt, plot holes all over the place.
I have the exact same rating as you, Phil, because it started. I enjoyed the first 30, 40 minutes of it. I would have given it a 3, but once it hit the kind of cliched horror of The Exorcist, it kind of dropped to a 2 for me.
Yeah. So The Exorcism out cinemas this weekend. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed. I hate to say that because obviously, you know, the director, I'm guessing there's a lot of passion there, but I think it was just plagued by problems. I'm guessing there were problems with the delays and everything else, and maybe the legal issues that just spoilt it.
We didn't get no turning spin.
No, do you know there was one scene I thought, oh, his head is going to start spinning, and then I would have just given it a 1 star because that would have been so predictable. But thankfully that didn't happen. But he did smash his head on the desk, which was quite funny. It shouldn't be, but it was quite funny.
I did like the robot. Remember, there was a robot head that was.
That was the bit I really liked. Yeah, that was really creepy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good.
Like that. But that's like what they spent the whole budget on, was that weird.
The Exorcism. Let us know if you're going to see it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, boys. We'll see you on the next one.